Today is May 27, 2015, and on this day in 1995, the Sierra Railroad lost its most loyal fan. Al Rose was an excellent photographer and knowledgeable enthusiast of the Sierra shortlines. Al favored two of the Sierra lines more than any of the others, the Sierra Railway and the Yosemite Valley Railroad, and extensively studied and documented the two throughout his life. Al is best remembered for his expertise and his kind-hearted willingness to share everything he knew. To this day, Al's work continues to inspire Sierra and YV fans, and he is missed as much today as he was in 1995. Alright guys, so in this Shoptime vlog I decided to show you my model of Sierra Railway boxcar number 322, which I just recently completed. It's actually not quite finished yet, but the decals, well at least some of the decals are on, and the only other things I really need to do is finish the rest of the decals and the brake rigging. But the car is on its trucks, it's got its truss rods, it's got most of its detail, and it's painted, so I decided I can put it in use on my modules now, which is great because I love adding freight cars to my collection of interchange equipment. The interesting thing about this car is that the prototype no longer exists, so I didn't have a whole lot of information to work off of, except for about 4 or 5 photographs and 6 measurements in all. I could only work off of 6 measurements of this car, but I do think, based on this one photograph showing here, that it is a fairly accurate model of the prototype, fairly faithful model of it. The trucks for this car are from Tahoe Model Works, and I think they're a very close match for the real 322. Like I said before, the car still needs its brake rigging and its lettering, but other than that it's pretty much complete. I do plan on building other Sierra Railway boxcars and of course other freight cars as well, but for now, since I already have 2 Sierra Railway flat cars and this being my only boxcar, I decided that I am going to move on to Sierra passenger equipment next. I'm not really sure which car, but I'll make that a surprise for you guys later on. So, well, I hope you guys really like this car. Stay tuned for the next shop time because I'll have another project to show for you. Hope you really enjoyed this one, and well, let's move on. Okay, so here's the part of the Shoptime blog where I show you the progress on the modules. As you can see, a lot has been done on the Jamestown Depot modules since my last Shoptime blog back in March. All of the track has been laid. I still have several ties and a lot of tie plates to put in place before all the track can be ballasted. But I can run a train over every square inch of this thing now. The only issue is that some of the, well, one of the switches isn't completely finished yet. 3 of them have ground throw switches, so I can operate all the way around the module except for the tail track back there, all the way on the end there. I can't throw the switch for that, so I can't operate over it just yet. But a lot of the dirt has been put down. You can kind of see I've avoided some of the areas where the ties aren't in place yet, because I still have to put tie plates and spikes and whatnot down before I can ballast the track. The grade crossing is in. You can see the roadway is starting to take shape. All of the ties are done over here and the switch is in place. So a lot has happened since the last shop time. As you can kind of see in my Santa Fe gondola that I reviewed last shop time, it's got my track ballast stored in it. Combine number 5, nothing's happened with her really, except that I've added the brake wheel on one end and a small chain on the railing. Yeah, that's pretty much all I've done with that. Some ties are on the end of flat car number 41 there. Nothing's happened with that car. The only thing worth noting about Sierra number 30 is that I painted the smoke box and smokestack semi-gloss black, which is how it appears to be painted in the photos. Granted, they're black and white photos, so it's really difficult to tell, but my intuition tells me that that's probably what it was, because the Sierra was noted for painting its smoke boxes black in the later years, so it was probably the same way early on as well. And 322 that I just showed you earlier, just more of my interchange freight cars. My eventual goal is to load up the Jamestown yard with as many freight cars as I can, because in a lot of photographs that's how it appears. The yard is stuffed, waiting for Sierra number 30 to switch them out. And I got a little corner of dirt going back there. I have a lot of work to do, but it's really coming along. It's looking good. I can operate over almost the entire thing. Just got one more switch to completely finish and get running. I brought the Jamestown Roundhouse module back out again. It's been stored up against the wall for the last few months, but I decided, since I wasn't doing anything on standard anyway, I'd pull this one back down and see if there's anything I can do to it. Not a lot, actually. I don't remember if I've said it before, but there's an issue with the wooden frame that this thing has. It's really warped, so the Roundhouse doesn't lie completely flat on the module. What I'm going to do to fix that is replace the old wooden frame with a few pieces of foam blocks, which are probably a lot more flat than the wooden frame. I think I can trust it a bit more. I don't know when I'm going to be able to do that work, but I'm hoping within the next few months I'll be able to do it, so that I can get the turntable in place and finish all the track work and maybe start some scenery as well. But until then, I just put it back up so that I can store some cars on it or whatnot. It's pretty empty right now. The Roundhouse is still... The Roundhouse hasn't received any work in a long time, but I set it back up so as I'm less likely to break it. So yeah, let's move on with the next bit of the Shoptime blog. So next up is another review of one of my 1920s era freight cars, specifically May 1929, which is the time period that I model. If you are modeling the 1920s as I am, then this is the kind of review that you might enjoy. This is an MTH Pacific Fruit Express R40-2 refrigerator car, and it's decaled for the Southern Pacific and the Union Pacific, one herald on each side. The date on the car is August 1928, so it would have been in service by the time that I'm modeling. The thing about the Sierra Railway is that there wasn't a lot of refrigerator car traffic in the early years and in the 1950s as well, and afterward, for that matter, there's little refrigerator car traffic. But anyway, this is one of the few that I have. It's a very nice car right out of the box, but it does have some issues that I'll explain next. An issue that I noticed with this car straight out of the box, you can't see it so much now because I've corrected it, but the cast-on details, specifically the latches on the door, were bleeding through. The orange paint that you see on the car was bleeding through, and I had to go over it with black paint. You can see some stray marks from my paintbrush on it. And that was all over the car. The little bolts, I still haven't gotten all of them. They are orange where they should be black. And again, with the latches and several other pieces of detail, I had to go over with my black paintbrush. So that is one issue I found wrong with this model. Another issue I noticed with this car over the couple weeks that I first owned it was that the stirrups on the side of the car, there's one in the center on each side and then one on the each of the corners. So 6 stirrups in all. They're made of a plastic that is supposed to be resistant to breaking. It's, if I remember correctly, it's a high quality engineering plastic or something of that sort. They're supposed to be resistant to bending and breaking, but they do eventually snap off, even with careful attention. One of the stirrups on the corners of the car finally, after about a year of even careful handling, is finally snapped off, and that's one issue I have with it. But I guess on most high quality cars that's something that you can't avoid, so I'm not sure if I should strike a star off of this model for that. But I have noticed it, and it is rather bothersome. The problem that I do have with this type of plastic, although it is supposedly resistant to breaking, it's almost impossible to cement it back in place. So once it breaks, you may as well just completely replace it because you can't glue it. The glue does not stick to this type of plastic. So that's one other problem that I have with this car in particular. What I do really like about this car is that the lettering is all very clear and crisp. It's all very easy to read, and it's very attractive. This car is striking when you first pull it out of the box. It's a very nicely detailed car. As I said, the lettering is very, very nicely rendered. The details are all very well, the handrails are separately applied, and I believe the brake wheel, well, of course the brake wheel is a very nice car, a very nice model. Despite the few flaws that it has, I haven't covered them all yet, but I really like it. If I remember correctly, it was between $24 and $25. That's not retail price, it's where I bought it at the train shop in Santa Clara, but that price was fairly good for this car. I believe retail would be closer to $30. When I first bought this car, one thing I really liked about it was its free-rolling trucks, but over time I really started disliking them because they were grossly out of scale. The side frames were really thick. The trucks were very noticeably wide. They are noticeably wider than an accurate version of the truck would be. So as you can see, I've replaced them with T-section arch bar trucks from KD. They are just as free-rolling with more accurate wheel sets. The reason I bought the KD truck was because it was far superior to the trucks that it came with as far as physical appearance goes. So I liked the KD trucks a lot better as a replacement for this car. Shown here are the previous trucks that it had. They are very, very free-rolling, but they're just too far out of scale for me to get any enjoyment out of this car, so I replaced them, and I like this car a whole lot better than I did before when it had the older trucks. As you can see right out of the box, the brake rigging is in very good condition. Unlike the Santa Fe gondola that I reviewed last Shoptime, the brake rigging on this car is fully intact. It's in very good repair. Didn't have to do anything to it. I do notice some flash on the brake chain near the brake cylinder, but that's to be expected even on a high quality model. So I will not strike that. But the overall appearance of the underbody of the car is very, very nicely detailed, and I really, really like this car because of the detail on all areas. Another great thing about this model is that the end detail is one of the finer parts of this car. The red color on the end is fairly accurate and consistent with Pacific Fruit Express paint schemes. There's very little lettering on the end, but that's accurate. I have replaced the KD scale head couplers that came with this car new out of the box with Sargent couplers, as is typical with my rolling stock. But they did come with KD scale head couplers with whiskers, so they self-center, or at least they did before I took them out. One detail I really like about the MTH cars is the air hose detail, and you can see that in this high quality photo I have here on the screen. They are some of the nicest detailed hoses I have found, especially on ready-to-roll freight cars, or any piece of equipment for that matter. I really commend MTH for their detail as far as the air hoses go and the car overall. And well, I really hope you enjoyed this review of my MTH R40-2 reefer. And I hope to show you more freight cars, but probably in the next couple of shop times I will not have any for you. I will not have any reviews for you, so I hope you enjoyed this one, and hopefully I'll get back to doing some reviews later this year. Alright, so as you can see here, you're looking at none other than Sierra number 3 herself. As you can see, she has gotten quite a bit of work done since the last shop time. And it's very apparent which areas I've worked on. I've replaced the firebox and the taper section in the back. I've shortened the frame a little bit. The portion that crosses the pilot truck and supports the cylinders, I've changed those out. As you can see, the cylinders are missing. They're actually over here. I'm doing some work on them to make them a little bit more scale and more accurate looking, but I need some more measurements before I can put them back in place and get the engine back together again. For the record, the locomotive still runs fine. I just haven't operated her in probably close to a year, but I'm hoping as soon as I get all this work done that she'll become a main runner again, as I really miss having more than one locomotive, and the 30 right now is my only engine. So yeah, in interchange freight car news, I'm getting close to being ready to paint this Pennsylvania Railroad X29 boxcar. It's actually a very, very dark color. It's not supposed to be painted this way, but I wasn't really sure of the color before I painted it, so I just went with that. I'm about ready to repaint it. During the 1920s and early 30s, apparently the Pennsylvania Railroad painted their cars an orange color similar to the orange you would find on a candy corn. So anyway, that's what I have to find a mixture of paint for that, which I already have, but I have to go and buy the paints. Hoping to have that done pretty soon to increase my number of interchange freight cars. And I think I mentioned in the last Shoptime vlog that this is the beginning of the Sierra number 28 project, using a Roundhouse 280 as a base. Based on the narrow gauge and short line Gazette drawings of this locomotive, the Roundhouse 280 is fairly close, but I'm going to take a few more measurements just to be sure. Well, anyway, the Sierra number 28 is going to be my next locomotive build. I'm really hoping to have it resembling its prototype before the real Sierra number 28 comes back into operation. This is what happened to Sierra number 32. Actually, this isn't even part of the old project. This is the beginning of the new Sierra Railway number 32 project. Entirely new tender frame and everything. I made some corrections based on my work with locomotive number 30. And I figured, you know, the number 32 isn't even close to scale as it is right now. And based on my current standards, I could do a whole lot better. So I decided to start completely over, and I'm going to get rid of the old number 32. As you can see, this entirely scratch-built frame with some metal and styrene pieces, wood decking, and I'm still working on. I'll probably finish the number 28's tender frame, hopefully in the next couple of months. I have all the measurements I need for that. Just need to go ahead and get some supplies to finish it. So yeah, this is the beginning of the new Sierra number 32 project, but it is going to be sidelined for quite a while until I can start building the locomotive. But the tender will be the first thing to be finished. So anyway, well, that's just about it for this Shoptime vlog. It's a little bit shorter this time, but there really isn't a whole lot of new stuff to show you that I haven't already posted on the Facebook page or already showed you in the last Shoptime vlog. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Stay tuned for the next one. I'm not sure when the next Shoptime will come out, but no promises anyway. So hope you enjoyed this one, and well, I'll see you next time. Today's February 28th, 2015, and 80 years ago, the Angels branch saw its very last revenue train. On March 1st, service to Angels Camp was officially abandoned by the Sierra Railway Company of California.